Start by thinking about that for a second. Imagine you've poured your entire life into one single magnificent goal, only for that dream to become the very thing that traps you. That's exactly where our story begins. All right, let's set the scene. We're in the late 19th century, this amazing time of huge ambition and crazy innovation. And we're about to see how a dream to connect a city turned into a personal hell, and how a moment of triumph was followed almost instantly by total collapse. So let me introduce you to Washington Roebling. He's this brilliant civil engineer, and he's following in his famous father's footsteps. His life's dream? To finish one of the most ambitious, just wild engineering projects ever conceived. A massive bridge to connect Manhattan and Brooklyn. But almost as soon as the project gets going, tragedy strikes. And it strikes hard. There's a catastrophic accident on site, and Roebling gets crippled by decompression sickness. He's left completely paralyzed. He can't walk, he can't talk, he's stuck in his bed in constant, agonizing pain. As far as the rest of the world was concerned, that was it. Game over. The Great Bridge Project was toast. Roebling's dream wasn't just on hold. Everyone saw it as a total disaster, a ruin that would just sit there as a reminder of what went wrong. But, you know, this is where the real story starts. Because right when the entire world had given up on him, he refused to give up on himself. This is the part of the story where he finds a voice in the deepest, most profound silence imaginable. I mean, that's the big question, right? It sounds completely impossible. How on earth do you manage thousands of workers, deal with incredibly complex logistics, when you are literally trapped inside your own body? And here is the answer. It's just this moment of pure genius born out of total desperation. Roebling realizes he has the tiniest bit of movement in just one finger. And with that single finger, he and his amazing wife Emily invent a brand new way to communicate, a coded language of taps. And this whole process was just unbelievably painstaking. Roebling would tap out these coded messages on Emily's arm. She would then translate them letter by letter, word by word. But look, she became so much more than just a translator. She learned engineering, she thought for his vision, and she became his essential link to the entire world. Let that sink in for a moment. One of the greatest engineering marvels of the 19th century was orchestrated from start to finish by the tapping of a single finger. It's just incredible. Okay, so they had a system. But this wasn't some quick fix. What came next was an absolute marathon of patience and willpower, an 11-year vigil all watched from a single window. And this really gets to the psychological side of things. I mean, it's one thing to come up with a clever way to communicate. It's something else entirely to keep that up, day after day, year after year, just watching from a window, totally disconnected from the physical world you're trying to build. This timeline really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? For 11 long, grueling years, this was his entire reality. Every single day, watching through a telescope, tapping out instructions, with Emily as his voice and his hands, solving enormous engineering problems, all from his bed. So here's the key idea, this incredible contrast. While his body was, for all intents and purposes, a prison cell, his mind was totally free. And it wasn't just functioning, it was operating at a genius level, building an absolute miracle out there in the real world. And all of that pain, all of that patience, all of that struggle, it was all leading to this, the final, incredible, triumphant moment. The whole project, from the very first stone laid, took 14 years to finish. And for 11 of those years, Roebling was stuck in his room. 14 years of silent tapping, relentless struggle, and a kind of focus that just refused to break. And then in 1883, it was finished. The Brooklyn Bridge was complete. And it wasn't just some bridge. It was immediately seen for what it was, one of the great engineering wonders of the world. A masterpiece that completely changed the New York City skyline forever. And this really gets to the heart of Washington Roebling's story. You have these two realities existing at the same time. On one side, there's the man in the window, trapped, silent, seen as a tragedy. And on the other, the man who built a wonder, a symbol of triumph. In the end, he wasn't defined by his circumstances. He was defined by his victory over them. So, after hearing this incredible story, what are we left with? What's the big takeaway from this monument to the human spirit? You know, it's a story that feels like it's from another time, but the lessons are so personal and they're absolutely timeless. What can his struggle teach every single one of us about our own lives? The lessons we can pull from Roebling's life are just profound. He shows us that real strength isn't about muscle, it's about your mind and your will. That the limits placed on your body are not the limits of your determination. And maybe most importantly, that your spirit, your inner fire, is always, always stronger than your circumstances. And that really brings us to our final thought, which just sums this all up perfectly. Your will is the engine, not your circumstances. It's such a powerful reminder that the thing that truly drives us forward isn't the world around us, but the fire we choose to keep burning inside.
So, let's start with a simple question to get us thinking. Just imagine for a second, a person whose entire life, their whole career, is about understanding and beating barriers. Is there any physical lock in the world that could really, truly stop them? Well, here's the bold claim from a master locksmith, a man at the absolute peak of his craft. He basically threw down a challenge, believing with 100% certainty that no physical barrier, no matter how clever or complex, could possibly hold him. Now, as you can probably guess, a boast like that doesn't just go unanswered. Of course, his challenge was accepted. They took him to this brand new high-tech prison cell, a cell that was famous for being completely, utterly inescapable. Okay, so the heavy door clangs shut behind him, but he's not worried at all. I mean, this is his world. He pulls out his tools, he listens to the mechanism, and he starts doing the delicate work he's mastered over a lifetime. He was expecting a challenge for sure, but what he finds is, well, it's something else entirely. Something really unsettling. The lock is just silent. It's not moving. It's not giving him any feedback at all. And what's really fascinating is how you can track his whole journey here. After 30 minutes, his confidence starts to crack. An hour in, remember that was his limit, his hands are literally shaking with frustration. And by the 90-minute mark, all his skill, all his expertise, it feels totally useless. He's just exhausted and has completely given up hope. So after an hour and a half of this intense, draining struggle, the story takes a turn that nobody could have seen coming. He's failed. The impenetrable lock has won. Or has it? You have to picture this. He's given it absolutely everything he has, and he finally just admits defeat. In this moment of pure exhaustion, he just slumps back, his body falling against the very door he's been fighting this whole time. And this is the incredible twist. With just the slightest bit of pressure from his tired body, that massive steel door just glides open without a sound. He practically stumbles out into the hallway, completely bewildered. So what was really going on? The shocking reality was this. The prison guard, as part of the whole test, had never actually turned the key. The deadbolt was never even engaged. The door was unlocked the entire time. And that brings us to the real heart of this whole story. It was never about the steel or the mechanics of the lock. The real prison wasn't the one they put him in. I mean, think about it, right? The physical lock wasn't the problem. His tools were useless because there was nothing for them to work on. So what was the actual barrier that held him captive for an hour and a half? His own assumption became his reality. The most powerful lock in that whole prison wasn't made of metal. It was made from a single, unshakable thought in his head. And it makes sense, in a way. He was an expert in locked doors. So when he saw a door in a prison cell, his mind just jumped to the only conclusion it knew. It's got to be locked. He got so focused on the complex problem he thought he had that he completely missed the simple solution that was right there in front of him. But look, this is way more than just a clever story about a locksmith. It's really a parable for our own lives, because every single one of us has doors that we just assume are locked. This story is such a powerful metaphor, right? It's asking us to take a hard look at the locked doors we face every day. You know, the challenges we think are impossible, the goals we believe are just out of reach. These are the kinds of invisible barriers we build for ourselves. They only exist in our thinking, but man, they can feel as real and as solid as steel bars, stopping us from even trying to push the door. So, true freedom, it turns out, isn't really about breaking down external walls. It's about dissolving the ones inside our own heads. It's about having the guts to question our assumptions and to just check if the door is really locked before we spend our lives trying to pick it. So I'll just leave you with this question. Think about your own life. What opportunity, what new path, what potential change are you ignoring simply because you've already decided the door's locked? What do you think would happen if you just tried to push?